It's funny. I was like laying in bed last night, and I was probably this morning was 36 hours at 8 o'clock in the morning. So last
Yeah.
night, maybe 11 o'clock at night, it was probably 27, 28 hours. I roll over to Stephanie, and she's in the medical field, so this is a common question. And I go, "So am I like in ketosis right now?" And she goes, no, you have to like not eat for like more than a week to even get close to being in actual ketosis." So I was like, that's kind of what I thought, but I don't know. Like the fad of like being in ketosis and going keto is like all fugazi, because in
Is
reality,
it?
you can't get to ketosis. It's impossible. It's quite literally impossible to get to actual ketosis. So um,
So
I don't
intermittent
know. I thought I
fasting
was
does
there.
not get you to ketosis? I thought that was the reason why
I
you have like open and close hours for your eating.
Yeah, that's not why I do it, but I get it 100%. I do it just so I restrict myself from eating because, as you know, I love to indulge in meat and
Viking meals, as I like to call them. It's just like
Viking
a
meals. It's
turkey
just,
leg and then like ostrich eggs. It's basically the Joe Rogan. You and Joe Rogan are the same dietary
essentially.
ears.
I will say on um so it would have been Sunday. Yes, Sunday. I have a I don't even use like when I make hamburger anymore. I don't even use just like a standard pan. I use the soup thing, right? The soup that's like 5 inches deep. It's shaped like a pan. I don't know what they call it.
Yeah.
Like it's not the saucepan's
With
a
the
smaller
metal
one.
bowl. With the metal
The
bowl.
bigger one that you stick on the stovetop and you make usually soup out of, right? Or
Yeah, yeah,
mashed
yeah.
potatoes,
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah, yeah.
5 inches deep and it's the size of a pan. I just put the hamburger in there during the day when I'm working, and I'll come in here and I'll just let it simmer and get going. I'll go in there, hack it up, whatever, 2 pounds, and then I'll turn the rice cooker on, make a couple cups of rice, let it all just concoct while I'm working, and then combine it into that big thing. And it's just a big thing of rice and hamburger. And then I put it into different pans for the rest of the week. But on Sunday, I ate the whole thing. So I ate 2 pounds of hamburger and 2 cups of rice. And so that's where we're at.
I don't know if you realize this, but you just told an identical story to a lot of people, but they usually are telling that story about their dog, not about them. It's usually, yeah, I was making Buster a whole big pan of rice and meat, and I was mixing it up, and I was going to give it to him throughout the week. But on Sunday, I came home and he ate the whole freaking bowl. It's not usually for yourself,
Yeah, that happens,
but
man. It happens.
I gotta give you props. I mean, listen, we're not here to talk dietary. This is our first
I
show
was gonna
on
say
Player Profiler. So,
these
but
people.
I have one more question. I have one more question before we get off the dietary thing. Have you had this like what do you call it, carnivoric spirit your whole life, or is it just something as you've tried to get more healthy and try to be better at it, or is this something like you're eating like packages of bologna as a kid, house
No.
and beef jerky?
Yes. Yes. This is since I was a kid, because I grew up in a house that, we had a farm, and we got to eat farm fresh hamburger and steaks every fuck day.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it was
whatever you
like
want.
so growing up, it was like you drank a half gallon of milk every sitting, and that's just the way it
Yeah,
was. And
yeah,
that's just what it was, dog. So
yeah.
I don't
Get it.
really know
I
much
get it.
different. Like I said, like I ate 2 pounds and two cups of rice. Like today, I made 4 pounds of hamburger and 4 cups of rice just to get my meals ready for tomorrow. Like I said, I just got done with a 36-hour fast. Now I'm doing 24. Tomorrow, I'll probably eat again 2 more pounds of hamburger, 2 more cups of rice. So that's just what it is. It is what it is. But
It is
Matty,
what
this
it
ain't the
is.
cooking show. This might as well be a cooking show. We might as well do a damn cooking show. But we got some football to talk to. So what do you say we talk about some football?
Run that intro, baby.
Player Profiler Nation. What is up?
What's going on?
I'm back. I'm joining my main man, Matty Kiwoom, and we've brought the Hurdle to Player Profiler. For those of you that have not been here, episode 47 of the Hurdle. You can find our show over there on YouTube, The Executives of Fantasy Football. You can check it out every Tuesday and Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. But recently, I talked to a couple people, Theo, Matt, and we decided Tuesday nights, Player Profiler specials every Tuesday from here on out, 7 p.m. Eastern time, at Matty Kiwoom, at Cody Carpentier. Matty, Tuesday night, how we doing?
I mean, we're doing great. I always like our Tuesday night conversations because it's like us getting back together after a whole weekend's worth of happenings and goings on that we can catch up on. But now it's a little bit more important because we are doing the double stream, which is awesome. To have you back on the Player Profiler Network is dope. I'm glad you're doing it with me. It's just I'm very, very excited. But I do have to admit one thing. I have to tell this, and this is part of what you get, Player Profiler crowd, when you tune into the Hurdle, is just a couple of old so-and-sos talking about whatever, mostly football, 95% football. But as you've noticed, we have banter. And I have to admit this because Cody won't admit this, but I gave him a Dwayne Wade-esque behind my head alley-oop, and he was supposed to LeBron that as I walk away with my arms like this, and he just left that ball in the air, did not convert. I gave him a layup. I gave him this idea, instead of our normal intro, which is the funkiest intro in the world, that's why I love it, to throw that John Bone Jones P. Diddy walkout song, Coming Home, because now it feels like you're coming home back to Player Profiler. So very, very excited for that. That didn't happen, but it would have been so cool. I saw it in my mind's eye. But I'm also excited to be bringing, the Hurdle over to Player Profiler every Tuesday.
I'm excited about it, and like you said, I dropped the ball now, and that was your alley might have been too high, and I just let it go. I will say, just so the audience is clear. I don't know if this is clear on social media or not because there was a couple of posts that came out, but I'm not. To answer your question, I'm not coming completely back to Player Profiler. This is it. This is the only thing I'm doing at Player Profiler.
Oh, but it's still ceremonious. It's still
I know, but I just want to make that clear to the audience that it's literally just the show. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I mean, we got big collabs coming. You guys, roster watch by Player Profile at the Senior Bowl. This won't be the only crossover over the next few months.
In the next
couple
I'm
not going to drop news. There's news to be coming. I'm just saying, but yeah, it's definitely worth celebrating though, having you back on the network, even if it is 1 night a week.
Hey, a little something, and I appreciate you for joining me on the show as always. But my main man, let's get to the nitty gritty. We're going to talk about this 2024 class. The name of the game is the best fantasy football landing spots in the 2024 NFL draft, and that's the wrong thing. The best 2024 landing spots in the draft. And we're going to get to that by doing a NFL mock draft tonight. And we're going to do that over at PFF, as you can see right here. The 101 going to the Bears. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go through the entire first round kind of as fast as possible because this is like a 3-hour exercise if you want to be real about it. And Matty's currently working. Matty, you're currently working on your NFL mock draft, 2.0 right now?
2.0. So, I mean, I am on the 5-yard line, about to cross the goal line. This week's episode of Blue Chips coming out on Friday will be a deep dive into my 2-round mock draft coming out 2.0, but it'll be out on playerprofile.com within the next couple of days.
Bingo, bango, bongo. 101. Since your mock is coming out next, and your mock is coming out soon, I want you to take the 101. I want you to take the odds as we go through this excursion. Chicago Bears, Unski.
No trades.
I mean, we could. I don't know if this, we could select a team to trade. Let's see, select one of your teams. So I got the Bears. Select a team to trade with. Nobody really wants to trade with you, but we can do it.
All right. So basically, no. Let's do no trades. We'll be here for 45 minutes. We'll be here for.
Thank you.
We'll do no trades. Okay, so I'm on the clock here. Go ahead. Start this bad boy.
All right, let's get it.
Let's do it. So as the Bears, though, so as of right now, I'm going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. with the 101, and it's not because I would suggest or believe that the Bears will take Marvin Harrison Jr. at the 101, but as the rumors are getting louder and louder that Caleb Williams will shoot his way out of Chicago over to D.C. He's from D.C. His former quarterback coach is now the offensive coordinator. It feels like he's going to do everything in his power to get there. So for this mock, I'm going to use without the trades. I'm just going to force it and say Marvin Harrison 101.
Beautiful. I love that. It's interesting. You told me about this the other day. You're going to do this in your mock. So I think a multitude of things go into it between now and April. But 102 Washington. If this does happen, the layup of all layups is Caleb Williams to Washington. He's a DC kid. Cliff Kingsbury, of course, in Washington. And the situation seems spry in Washington going forward. All coaches that have been asked about the situation seem to love the connection between general manager and head coach, which is something that's never been in Washington over the last couple of decades. So Caleb Williams to Washington, and we'll see if that ship don't sink.
Bada bing, bada boom. With the 103, Drake May falls, but no, with the Patriots pick, I am from New England. I'm going to use what I've heard here. It feels like they are going to go QB, but I'm going to take Jaden Daniels here with the 103. And, Lance Zierlein had Jaden Daniels ahead of Drake May in his mock 1.0. So I think that is very much on the table that we could see Daniels before May. So give me Jaden Daniels with the Patriots.
I like that. I think it's interesting. There was a rumor. I want to ask you a question about this one as I plug in Daniels here. There was a rumor that came out today about Colin Cowherd bringing up some thought or some leak. I don't know which way it was, but it was potential the Vikings trading up to 3 and giving up Justin Jefferson, this year's pick and 2025's pick, which seems like a lot, way too much. And the Patriots guy, this is like a Patriots beat that was responding to it on a podcast saying, "Oh, I would do that 10 times out of 10." And I was like, yeah, of course you would. 10 times out of 10. You're getting Jefferson and 2 future picks, and you don't have to make the bad selection here. But I wanted to know what your New England mind thought, because now that I'm reading it off to you, you're looking like you haven't heard this before.
I haven't heard it. Would do it in a heartbeat. Feels like a haul. But if you're Minnesota, why would you subtract from your strength to get better at another position? But you don't even know how much better you're going to get in the short term. So that I would take that if I was Patriots. They would line them up perfectly at 11 to go after a Bo Nix.
And now it gets interesting because 2 of these quarterbacks are gone, and Arizona is sitting here with not the need for a quarterback, right? They have Kyler. They were praying Marvin fell to them right here. And I don't think Malik Neighbors is a loss, an L to take Malik Neighbors right here if you're Arizona. Malik Neighbors is, I wrote this up last night as I was doing a write-up over at rosterwatch.com, doing a rookie spotlight on Malik Neighbors. There is no comp for Malik Neighbors. It's Malik Neighbors. He's got different things from a multitude of players, from the Jeffersons, from Chase, from Stephon Diggs. Like, he's got a lot of elite traits and a lot of elite things that he can take away from those guys. And I think he's the most bust-proof receiver in the entire class. And so for those reasons and other reasons in Arizona right now, I think you could look at tackle. You could pair somebody with that Paris Johnson pick from last season, but this is an offense that needs points, needs talent, and Malik Neighbors gifts you that here with the 4th overall pick.
2 wide receivers in the top 4. I think it's very much possible. I think there would be a mixing around of the picks, but it's definitely possible. That's how good these prospects are. So now I am up here with the Jim Harbaugh-led Los Angeles Chargers of San Diego. I am going to go with Brock Bowers here. Tough kid, comes from a great program. Jim Harbaugh is going to be looking to bring aboard guys with, talent, but also character. He's going to try to build that culture out west. And I think it's just a perfect guy for, a coach that ran a lot of 12 personnel in Michigan and also at San Francisco in his last stint there. So I think that this is a match made in heaven.
All right, this is a boring pick here at pick number 6 because there's no Neighbors and there's no Marvin Harrison. So the Giants are going to indeed go offensive line. And at the offensive line position, they're going to go ahead and take Joe Alt. And sure, again, I don't know if they're going to shore up this offensive line or not with Evan Neal, with Andrew Thomas the last couple of years, but they're just going to start adding bodies and moving people around and doing the best they can. Joe Alt, the best tackle in the draft, goes at number 6.
So now at 7, and Joe Alt's my favorite tackle in the draft, so great pick there by the Giants. So I am actually going to take Talis Fuaga, offensive tackle here for the Tennessee Titans from Oregon State. I don't know if he has as high of a ceiling as Olu Fashanu, but I do know he's going to come right up in there, and he's going to be a dominant right tackle from jump ski. He does have the skill set to play left tackle, but they actually do have probably a little bit more of a need for a right tackle in 2024. So I think that comparing his stock on the rise to a team's need, I'm going to go Fuaga at 7.
All right, we just talked about our favorite landing spots, the best landing spots. This right here is the best fantasy football landing spot a quarterback can receive this year, and it's Drake May falling to number 8. What say you?
I think Drake May to Atlanta is very much on the table. Drake May falling to 8 seems unlikely. But however the apple gets cut up, May to Atlanta is absolutely on the table, and that would just be celebrate. I mean, you Drake May, team builders, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. This goes banana mode if you get a guy with Drake May's upside and talent to Atlanta, especially now with the confidence of a new coach and new offensive coordinator. I think that's a big deal for them and getting him at all. But here at 8, great pick. So now I'm up actually with the Chicago Bears. A lot of people here have mocked Rome Odunze, but they don't need Odunze, right? They got Marvin Harris at the top. So I'm going to go with the most talented, most upside pass rusher in the game, Dallas Turner. You pair him up with Montez Sweat, and you have a real dangerous group. I was talking to Cody a couple weeks ago about the edge rusher position. And I was like, man, I love Letu. I do. And he goes, listen, brother, I'm not going to steer you wrong. You got to go watch a little bit more of Dallas Turner. And I watched Dallas Turner, and what I see when I watch Dallas Turner is Micah Parsons. And you match up a talent like that with Montez Sweat, and you become a problem getting after the quarterback.
I think so too. And I think that is kind of exactly what I was trying to get at right there. I will say 2 things that come to mind here. First, Liatu Latu, very fast around the corner at the Senior Bowl last week. Very good defensive end, the best at the game. Chris Bradswell from Alabama was there as well, but Latu was a stud all week. But I think Turner's at he's not, I don't want to say like at a different level, but he's just slightly at a different level than Latu is for me. Couple notes that I do want to say as I make this pick at number 10 is there is some chatter in the chat. Something's going to move up to get May or things of this nature. Yes, I think somebody, if May falls probably past 5, if somebody doesn't trade up to the 5 start with the Chargers, somebody probably tries to trade up with the Giants. That's probably a good area for that thing to happen right there. But also just know that if he starts to fall, the Bears might be in that conversation as well, jumping over the Falcons. I would say that is definitely something to think about, especially if they did take action. If this is hypothetical, they did take Marvin at number 1. I think that's something you could actually think about. Here with the Jets at 10, I have 2 trains of thought. One, we know they need offensive line help. Olu did fall here. There's a couple other tackles you could talk about, but Garrett Wilson is the sole talent in this wide receiver room. The sole talent. Rome Odunze makes this offense a little bit different. That's another one of my favorite spots right here. One of my favorite landing spots is putting Rome Odunze with a Garrett Wilson, with a Breece Hall, with a healthy Aaron Rodgers. Sign me the fuck up in that for 2024.
That's a good spot. And, it's one of those moves that if you're going to go in for a little bit with Rodgers, you might as well go all in. I think the most popular pick is a tackle there with Fashanu still available. I think that would be a ballsy move. But, man, talk about what Rome Odunze provides, what 99th percentile Corey Davis could have provided in that type of offense. Of course, he's retired, so now it opens the door wide open, and Odunze would be a massive, massive get. But here with the Minnesota Vikings on the clock, I'm going to take Letu, the crafty edge rusher from UCLA. His testing numbers will probably make some people a little sad, but his ability to get after the quarterback is undeniable. Crazy high grades at getting after the quarterback. And Minnesota, who had one of the worst pass rushes in football, could use an upgrade. Jonathan Bullard, defensive end. He is a free agent as well as Danielle Hunter. I believe Danielle Hunter probably will be back, but it would be nice to bring in the next wave of pass rusher when he's done. He's been in the league now almost 10 years. So
I think number 12 here with the Denver Broncos is one of the most interesting spots in the NFL draft, and I think where a lot of the tides can turn. The Vikings are going to be an easy spot to mock an edge or even a quarterback if that conversation gets heated up enough over the course of the next few weeks, depending on what Kirk Cousins does in free agency. Yeah. But the top 10 feels like we have a good grasp on where everybody's at. 12 with the Broncos. Russell Wilson enters free agency as well. Do they go quarterback? That's the question. Do they go receiver? They have other needs as well. I think after the Senior Bowl, I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to go quarterback, and I'm going to give Sean Payton a winner, a player that is hyper accurate, a player that is maybe a little undersized, not in the same dimensions as this one quarterback that was undersized that played with Sean Payton.
You going to give him Drew Brees?
Close. This guy's skinnier but taller. J.J. McCarthy from Michigan, 12 to the Denver Broncos. You're looking for a splash. You're looking for a spot. I'm going splash. J.J. McCarthy, Sean Payton gets a winner, gets his quarterback, and he's going to be playing against a guy in Jim Harbaugh, that called him the best quarterback he's ever coached. So in the same division as him. So J.J. McCarthy to the Denver Broncos.
Beast pick. I think that's clearly a directional pick. Clearly something that he would have been concocting for months. I think then the stars align there for him to be the fourth quarterback off the board. But I think what we saw down in Mobile, right, with the two quarterbacks, Penix and Nix, leaving the door open for this very possibility. So McCarthy to 12, I love it. It's electric. At 13, it's very tempting to go quarterback here. But Antonio Pierce, he's trying to establish the defense. He's trying to establish a little bit of bully ball. I think this is where we see the first corner off the board. Quinyon Mitchell was so good in the Senior Bowl. He really turned everyone's eyes onto what his capabilities are in the NFL, and that's a CB1. But I think the cornerback one that comes off the board first is Terrion Arnold this year. I got to check to see where I have my big board because I believe I still have him as my first cornerback. I'm going to have to double check, but I'll get back to you. I'm pretty sure he's my first cornerback on my big board, which you can get in my profile.
I think you told me this already. I think you said that already.
Quinyon and yes, Terrion Mitchell, my CB1.
I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. Quinyon Mitchell is a black hole, as we named him at the Senior Bowl. So first and foremost, we're through 13 picks. I want to appreciate everybody who is in the chat right now. We're 23 minutes deep, and we're going to rip through the rest of this thing and continue to talk about our favorite landing spots as we go. And as well, after round one, we will talk for a couple minutes about some players that we want to see in certain spots over the course of the next couple of rounds. But first and foremost, shout out to Andrew Blankenberg, the Fantasy Plumber, Rami Putras, Goonie Boy, of course, always hanging out with us, PJ Kennedy, of course, tapped in, and George Casapias. We appreciate you guys all tapping in here to the first episode of the Hurdle on Player Profiler, but the 47th episode in its own version over at the Executives of Fantasy Football. Pick number 14 here, the New Orleans Saints. Quarterback as a need, tackle as a need. Andrews Pete's a free agent. Trevor Penning hasn't panned out because he's too psychotic. He's too much of a dog. He's a menace.
He's a menace. He's the
really
menace.
What it is. Yeah. He's on the menace level. He's up there with the Pickenses of the world. So they go D-line. And if you're going to go D-line, you got to go D-line. And you go to the best. The best last year was blessed, and that was Texas with two defensive tackles, Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat, which I don't know why he's so far down this board, but Byron Murphy's the pick to the New Orleans Saints. He feels like the next Malcolm Brown, who is from the University of Texas. Malcolm Roach is a free agent this year. They drafted Brian Bresee last year. You pair Byron Murphy with Brian Bresee, and then all of a sudden you got a pretty sick interior. Sign me up, Byron Murphy, New Orleans.
At 15, Colts need secondary help, and they are going to go to the player we just talked about a few minutes ago, Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo to Indianapolis, baby.
Love that. That's maybe one of my favorites. I was like looking at this as I was watching it go down, and I was like, damn, I'm not going to get the Colts. And I was like thinking I'm going to take Quinion for the Seahawks. I didn't really want to do that. Seattle, interesting pick here. Seattle is at 16 with a guard, corner, and edge as the projected needs. In my last mock a few weeks ago, I gave them Leatu Latu. He, of course, is Gone gone. So I'm going to go ahead and give them Jerzon Newton, another guy that like, you know what? No, I'm not. I'm just going to go full blown Jared Verse. I think Newton's going to fall a little bit further. I'm going to go full blown Jared Verse right here.
Okay, so and this is funny because you technically sniped me. I thought Verse going to the Jaguars would be an absolute layup. Can you give me a second? Because now I have to just quickly go through my mind's eye here and go with.
I thought I knew who you were going to go with here.
No, I am actually going to change my mind up now because I was going to go with Jared Verse. I think Jared Verse to the Jaguars makes too much sense. But I'm actually going wide receiver. I'm going to go with Brian Thomas. They let Calvin Ridley go. There's the rumors that they want T. Higgins. Don't think he's leaving Cincinnati. So they can go get their own version of a downfield threat. Someone who is a big play guy, someone who can handle the long ball. Give me Brian Thomas Jr. as the fourth wide receiver off the board.
So did you do this on purpose? Because we had this conversation earlier, and I told you my favorite landing spot for Brian Thomas was actually the one that you brought up. And then you also told me a different player that you liked in Jacksonville. And I said, that's my favorite landing spot for Jacksonville to get. That's for a person for Jacksonville. Yep. Like those. So I'm just going to bring it up here. Brian Thomas, I said my favorite spot for him was Dallas.
Yep.
I wrote up him on Roster Watch last night, and Brian Thomas needs a situation like Dallas to succeed in the NFL. He's too volatile of a player. He had 17 touchdowns last year, but the way he plays, it exhibits failure. We'll just put it that way. Unless he's in a potent offense that wants to push the ball to him. Dallas has that. Jacksonville, you brought up Adonai Mitchell. I thought Adonai Mitchell was the perfect replacement. Exit stage left, Calvin Ridley. Enter stage right, Adonai Mitchell. Perfect fit with Christian Kirk out there. I love that. And then you go and pull the bait switch on me, and you give Brian Thomas to the damn Jaguars.
Well, the reason behind the curtain, this is why Cody and I are boys here. I brought this to him because it is in my 2.0 that Brian Thomas goes to the Cowboys. That's what sparked this whole conversation. But Verse was there for the Jaguars in my mock 2.0. Spoiler alert.
Oh,
so this is what happens on draft night. The dominoes will roll. You don't just go from Verse. There was enough of a drop off for me. From Verse to the next edge rusher, which is probably Chop Robinson, maybe Darius Robinson still a little early, so they make the pivot. And this is the range where I think a few wide receivers could start coming off of the board.
All right, you begin talking about the Cincinnati Bengals, and one name that for me rolls up is J.C. Latham, a hyper versatile player that I don't think just plays tackle. He can play everywhere. They might need a right tackle, depending on what Jonah Williams does, but they could always use a left guard. Also, Orlando Brown, a big guy, just came in last year. They can use Latham anywhere on this offensive line. I like him here at 18, one of my favorite landing spots for Latham himself.
Huge landing spot, but this would also be a massive turn of events for the Rams. Being able to get Olu Fashanu here at 19 is their offensive line was playing better due to coaching towards the end of the year, but they're an old offensive line unit. They need to inject some youth. Fashanu's ceiling is the roof, or whatever that goofy saying is. He is unlimited potential.
Jackson Powers Johnson dominated the Senior Bowl, kind of cementing himself as the best center in the class. Guess who else was there? Mike Tomlin, because Mike Tomlin goes everywhere. They need a center. They need help. They've needed a center for 3 years now. Jackson Powers Johnson, 20 overall. Bing, bang, bong.
That would be a good pick that would be a pretty good pick. I think Jet Powers, he can play both. He can play guard and center.
Correct. Yeah.
That's huge versatility. I'm trying to play it off cool, but I'm not, because that's just about the range that I have him in 2.0. But the Dolphins are up. Dolphins, they kind of have some weird holes to fill. They got to fill the middle of their field. JPJ falling to them at 21, I think, would be beyond exciting for their offensive line building because they got 3 interior linemen that are due for free agency, but they don't. And I think here is where we see the surprise of the draft, where they go get a player at a position that wasn't expected to have 2 in the first, but they take Jatavian Sanders, tight end from Texas, athletic, yak ability, truly would open up the middle of the field in a way that they have not been able to, given the slot receivers and tight ends that they've had. So give me Jatavian.
What do you think about this Philadelphia Eagles spot? Do you have them going defense or offense in your mock?
I have them going defense, and I think what makes this interesting is if Jason Kelce does return, this is as luxury of a pick as you see in first round, meaning they could use it just about anywhere, and it could help them in a major way, other than quarterback.
Can I say something really random?
Yes.
What's better than one Devontae Smith?
2 Devontae Smiths.
There you go. A taller Devontae Smith. A taller Devontae Smith is better. Not one, but you get 2, and this one's taller, maybe a tick faster, built very well for being as the frame that he is. He's not Julio Jones, but he's going to replace Julio Jones in this offense because they've been looking for this number 3, and that number 3 is a real one. Another person I like in this spot is Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas, of course, already went off the board. I like Franklin exponentially better than Brian Thomas, and Franklin's going to be a top 5 guy for me. Thomas is not going to be a top 5 guy for me in the fantasy rankings this year.
Okay. So now I am up here with the Texans. The Texans, their scheme has really, really opened up opportunities for their pass rushing up the middle. That's why Sheldon Rankings had such a big year for them. But he's a free agent. They really don't have anyone waiting in the wings, even if they do decide to bring him back. This is where Jershawn Newton makes all the sense in the world because Jershawn can stop the run. He's athletic enough to get after the quarterback. He's a player that has his red flags, but if he goes to a scheme like the Texans, those will be mitigated the most, and he could be a true superstar in Houston.
Sorry, you gotta say it again. Would you say Jerzon?
Yeah, Jershawn, would your earphones cut out? I just gave top-notch analysis.
They connected to my phone, and I was like trying to fix it. It was messed up.
That's happened to me before. Have you ever seen me like look on the camera like?
I got totally. That's what I was like. God dang it! God, what's happening here? Super annoying. Dallas Cowboys again should be taking Brian Thomas right here, but our main man Matty Kiwoom gave us the old snip, snape, snipe. What they're gonna do here is they're gonna go back to Bama. They're gonna go back to Bama at cornerback. Right? They got Trayvon Diggs. They're going back to Bama. They're getting the other guy, Kool-Aid McKinstry, a few years later, a guy that was projected 6 months ago as a top 12 pick, now falls to 24. They get that other corner. Trayvon Diggs comes back next year healthy. Maybe they trade for Stephon Diggs. I don't know. I'm just going to dingle that one out there because that's just the thought I got in the back of my head one night when I was brain. Kool-Aid McKinstry, 24.
It's one of the safest bets at cornerback this class, so it makes sense. But that means no Stephon Gilmore coming back then.
Yeah. I would,
He's gone. He gone. I am up with the Green Bay Packers at 125. Kool-Aid McKinstry here is actually a pretty decent fit, but I'm going to go with Cooper DeJean. Hashtag on the squad. Freak athlete, 3-sport athlete in high school. Absolute monster all over the place. Truly has the skill set to be a cornerback. He could be a cornerback at the NFL level, but his athleticism and his versatility, and quite frankly, his nastiness could allow him to move to safety. The Packers have aging cornerbacks and aging safeties. Both safeties are also free agents, so there's going to be decisions to be made. They definitely need an injection into their secondary, and Cooper DeJean provides that basically in spades.
All right, so it sounds like Baker Mayfield's going to be back in Tampa, which is just about a guarantee. The Mike Evans part is kind of a question mark right now. They do have a couple of safeties up right now, but there's no safeties that I would take at this spot. So I think my door is open for wide receiver, and I can guarantee you I'm not going to take Devontae Walker, which is somebody that's been trickled into a lot of mocks recently. And I'm not sure I really want to go after a big body player right here. Again, we're playing half real, half favorite landing spots, best landing spots right here, right now, right? And you have Chris Godwin, who's going to be playing this Cooper Cup role now with the new offensive coordinator, Liam Cohn. What did, I should say, the Rams have in Tutu Atwell? What did they have in, God, I can't remember the guy's name that was there 2 years before him. But in that offense, they need a speed guy, right? They got Trey Palmer. I think Trey Palmer probably fits that pretty well. But again, what's better than having one speed guy that's also ultra talented? Two speed guys that are also ultra talented. And the second guy is going to be a long-winded answer just to get to Xavier Worthy, but that's where I got.
Xavier Worthy is going to be a first-round pick, I think, after the process is said.
Xavier Worthy, Chris Godwin, Trey Palmer.
Speed. Love it. Cardinals get their receiver with their first pick. They go corner with their second pick. Nate Wiggins is my best corner available. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Buffalo Bills, pick 28. Multiple options here. Do they go tackle? Do they go receiver? I was on a show, WGR 550, with my man Mike Shope and the Bulldog, and everybody up there wants to get receivers. But they both want Brian Thomas and Troy Franklin. But at this time, they're both gone. They asked me about Keon Coleman, Adonai Mitchell. I said, nah. What I did say was, I think Buffalo should get a defensive lineman because they have like 6 defensive linemen entering free agency this year, and their defensive line is old.
That's right.
Again, the best landing spot. This is not for fantasy football, but this is for the NFL. If you're the Buffalo Bills and you don't get a wide receiver right here, you get the Hog Molly himself, T'Vondre Sweat.
The Hog Molly finds a home in Buffalo. Damn, that's dangerous. You're going to put that boy up in Buffalo and Buffalo wings? Those Buffalo wings are delicious.
Boy, he about to be 400, and he's going to whoop some tail.
400 pounds. All right, the Lions are up, and this is one of my favorite picks in the first round. They're going to go cornerback because, they did pay Sutton some cashola, but he has been mediocre at best. They really need a big number one corner. I'm going to go TJ Tampa. TJ Tampa is someone that may not be familiar with a lot of you guys, but he's big, 6 foot, 200 pounds. He's nasty. He plays good press coverage, plays great man coverage, and he is not afraid to throw the hammer and make big hits across the field. Someone that Dan Campbell's going to love.
I like that you went this direction because everybody knows Kyle Hamilton, right? And he's a well-known player in Baltimore who has this next pick here at 30. But there's a spot next to him that's kind of open. Geno Stone, Darryl Worley, free agents. Marcus Williams just came over a couple years ago from New Orleans. The safety spot is open, and it's not one of their needs. They need a receiver. They need D-line. They could go somewhere else, D-line. Could go corner. But I think they're going to go safety. I think they're going to press the button here because this is what the Ravens do. They always draft smart players that are very athletic and very talented. And Tyler Nubin from Minnesota is that player. He's disgusting. Putting him next to Kyle Hamilton this back end with an aging Marlon Humphrey is going to assist in this Baltimore defense repeating and getting back to the AFC Championship next year.
The funny thing is the Tyler Nubin, Kyle Hamilton connection is something they could have used back in Kelsey's heyday to try to stop Kelsey, because that's what that could do with a blink of an eye, with a decision. But yeah, massive move as they move Kyle Hamilton inside to play a little bit of slot. This next pick, I think, again, everyone's clamoring for receiver. Everyone wants the Chiefs to go receiver, but when you look who's best available, A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Legette, Keon Coleman, Tez Walker, Ladd McConkey. I don't think these guys are going to end up being first rounders. I don't. And I think the Chiefs, what they've shown is they are ultra smart at getting good players in important positions. They've shown that year after year after year. Creed Humphreys, great pick. At the time, it just seemed like a no-brainer. They're not afraid to make the picks that like, oh yeah, that did make sense. And they go Chop Robinson here. Chop Robinson has been a premier pass rusher at Penn State the last 2 years. Chop Robinson is wildly athletic. He is kind of getting a little bit of anti-helium. He's kind of falling a little bit, but he has had a round one projection for most of the process. It's only now that he's starting to slip. I think this would be a nasty move as they go into the next era, potentially without Chris Jones.
I think that was kind of funny what you just did there. I don't want to bring up Taylor Swift or anything, but you just talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. Instead of saying anti-hero, you said anti-helium. And that's just what made me think of that for some reason because I was watching.
See, that's how little I care. I think about Taylor Swift.
I don't listen. I don't either. My Stephanie wanted to watch the Grammys. She wanted to watch the Grammys the other night, so I turned the Grammys on while I was laying in bed, and she won like a couple awards.
Oh, she's
and I saw the song. It was like anti-hero or some crap, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And I don't know, it just ticked in my head when you said anti-helium, and I was just like, "Whoa, wait." That was totally random as hell. 32 here, I think, is very interesting. I think it can go multiple ways depending. Again, San Francisco is going to win this game. I'm just going to put that out there right now. They're going to win this game. And I don't know if Trent Williams retires or not. If he does, I could see them going after a tackle because all these tackles are available. Guyton, number one. Marius Mims, number two. Both guys that could slate into the San Francisco offense. But because we're here, I'm going to go Enos Rakestraw. San Fran needs to continue to draft on the back end. They just need to keep throwing darts there because they have talent across the board everywhere else. And that is 32 picks. That is NFL mock draft for 2024 in 41 minutes, Matty. Not exactly what our time window was projecting or hoping for.
So
now I might be. And so we got through 32 picks, and I'm going to take that screen down. And I want to ask you if there's any other players that you had kind of thinking about, or you're working on your 3-round mock right now. Did you have any spots? Maybe you didn't put them there. Maybe you did. That are your favorites for fantasy football?
Well, in my mock, I have Brian Thomas going to the Cowboys. That's a great fantasy spot.
Yep.
Another one that I have that I also like for Superflex, I had Bo Nix going to Denver. So if you're looking for maybe a little bit more immediate impact, that could be a whole lot of fun. But another spot that I think has potential to be massive, given the new coaching, Dave Canales heads down to Carolina, and he also knows how to make sure that multiple receivers can get a nice piece of the pie. He's done that in Seattle. He did that in Tampa. So bringing a guy like Keon Coleman, a guy with super high upside, would be a whole lot of fun. I have him going there at 33. I know it's not the first round, but they don't have a first-round pick, so I thought I'd throw it out there.
Some of my favorites are Keon Coleman or Adonai Mitchell, really, going to Cincinnati if T. Higgins does not return.
Oh, that'd be massive.
I think you brought up a couple other ones that I think make sense slotting into Cincinnati if there's no Tyler Boyd there as well. Some slot receivers. I thought you brought up a good one earlier today regarding the Eagles. I don't know if you want to share that one or not. Is that you want to keep that for the mock?
The Eagles.
A little running back action.
Oh no, that is gonna be for the mock. You're gonna have to tune into the mock to see that.
All right. That's called a tease right there. If you didn't know,
yeah,
it's a landing spot for the Eagles that is not traditional. Nobody's mocking this guy to this spot. And when Matty brought it up today on the phone call, I wasn't mind blown, but I was like taken aback a little bit just because of the situation that the running back position is in right now. It's very interesting. So you got to go check that out when the mock drops over at playerprovider.com. And I think outside of that, Jared Wiley, I talked about him last week.
Yeah, you've kind of opened my eyes to Jared Wiley. I've kind of looked at his,
Noah Gray just doesn't do it for me.
Development.
Noah Gray just doesn't do it for me. Could you just do it? Can we just do this? Can we just put Jared Wiley in Kansas City in like the 4th round or the 5th round? And it can just be, I don't want to say, hopefully it's closer to what Rodgers was to Favre than it is what Love is to Rodgers. But I think it's going to be like that type of a, here we go. I think Wiley is a guy late that I would love to see land in Kansas City. I'm trying to think of any other spot that I would love. I think it's literally that, because it feels like Kelsey maybe has a year left of high quality output. And if they could just give Wiley a year to sit with Kelsey,
Yeah.
boy, would my nipples be pointing that way.
Ding!
Running back, there's a couple. I think first and foremost, you could look at Braylon Allen. You can look at Jonathan Brooks, both to Dallas. I love both of those guys to Dallas. Dallas needs a running back. The rumors at the Senior Bowl in Mobile were of nobody. Everyone's talking about Dak, but ain't nobody talking about this Tony Pollard contract. He ain't got one, and they
They're
just
not gonna
franchised
give him
him,
big money.
and he ain't going back to Dallas. So they're going to need a running back. Probably in round 2, maybe in round 3, but I think those are two of my favorites for fantasy is Jonathan Brooks or Braylon Allen to the Dallas Cowboys. Do you have any others? I'm trying to think off of hand.
Yeah, I think that there's a few wide receiver spots in the second round, particularly at the end of the second round, where you have Detroit, Baltimore, Kansas City, San Francisco. I think all of those spots could be very interesting for guys like Brendan Rice, Roman Wilson. So that'll be a spot that'll be very, very excited about. In the mock that we just did, you had Buffalo going edge, going lineman over receiver. So that puts them also in play in round 2. I think round 2 is a spot where we're going to get a ton of fantasy relevant players. We're talking 5 or so receivers. We might be talking 2 or 3 running backs. I'm going to edge towards 2, but the combine can change a whole lot of things when it comes to running backs. What we saw in Mobile, I think, was the importance of the 4th, 5th, 6th rounders. But I think there are some guys that will come out of Indy in just a few weeks that will solidify themselves as 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounders, the real guys that we get very, very, very excited for. So that's still to come. But the process is going to, kind of play out. And I think that fantasy, for fantasy purposes, there are a lot of dream situations. There are a whole lot more. I'm not going to call them generic, but let's just call them less than exciting. That will be very, very important as time plays on. But I do got to give one more because I told this to you earlier, and I just feel like this is going to be, once this hits the zeitgeist of the draft community, this will become chalkity chalk. And it's Ladd McConkey, and it's not to the Patriots. That's the low-hanging fruit. That's
dumb. That's dumb.
That's 2 on the spot. That's a new era. That's not where he's going to go. But where he is going to go is the 11th pick in the 2nd round to the Atlanta Falcons.
With Drake May, with Pitts, with London, with Bijan. Might as well add in maybe the best route runner in the class. I love that. And you know what, Matty? You brought it up. We're going to be at the Combine 3 weeks from today doing this episode in the same building, in the same house. So we appreciate you guys for tapping in here on this beautiful Tuesday, our first episode at Player Profiler, our 47th episode in totality. We appreciate you guys again for tuning in, tapping in. Make sure you want any of that extra content, you go over to patreon.com/executives or fantasyfootballexecutives.com as well, fantasyfootballexecutives.com to get much more content, including our executive report write-ups, any free content during the Discord, get our Dynasty Top 400, things of that nature. Matty, we'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern time at the Fantasy Football Executives on YouTube. Let's get after it. We appreciate you guys, Player Profiler Nation. We here.
Peace.